it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Yeah.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Oh, your eyes do not deceive you. There are only two real professionals on this show, and we're here today doing this together. What's up, Lou?
Good morning. How we doing?
I'm good. We're going to double space. We're going to speak slowly. We're going to get through this together. And we got Bobby Portis on in a little while, which I'm sure he's got a lot of answers for us on a lot of questions. So we got this. We got this. I don't love how we're starting the show. However, there have come some positive bits of news from over the pond over there in Serbia. So Jokic last night has a leg injury. This is with a little bit of time left in the first half. It's a big deal. This is obviously a huge deal. It rocks the internet. They're at 22-10, third in the West, but it's Nikola Jokic. And for a lot of us, we don't want to see this dude ever get hurt. And it's very odd to see him in pain on the ground. Preliminary reports coming out of Serbia, which is crazy to say, is that they've avoided serious injury, that it looks more of like a hyperextension situation. It came out of Serbia, which I learned a lot. I went down a rabbit hole this morning, Lou. His representation still is all over there, so makes some sense. And the Euro basket world is on top of this because he's their baby.
He called home to mama. Mama got the news first. She spread it.
Trust me, I went this morning, I'm like, okay, it came out of Serbia. You know what? I'm good with this. But if it is true, and it looks like it might be, then we've avoided something serious. He will miss some time, but it won't be like what we thought. So let's start there, because you're the one that hit up our thread first. Like, when you saw that, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I thought it was catastrophic, and we've always had these conversations about teams and their capabilities and how far they can go in the season and the postseason. And that conversation is always centered around the best players being healthy and being available. And when we start talking about a guy that goes out and have 55 and 16 and 15 point triple doubles, that's a major loss for any team, and especially Nikola Jokic and, what he's been able to bring to the table for the Denver Nuggets. We don't have to go on a rant about how valuable and important he is to the Denver Nuggets. So when I seen him go out, I thought, man, this is bad, and this is not good news. For him personally, you always want to see guys be healthy and standing on their own 2 feet. But, at the same time, how it affects the basketball world and how it affects the organization and his teammates and the goals that they set out to accomplish at the beginning of the year. So coming out of Serbia, hopefully this isn't something, like you said, I'm sure we'll get some updates today and get some confirmations on what's actually going on. But, if he avoided major injury, that's really good news for him personally and for the basketball world and everybody that's fans of the Joker.
It's crazy how, like, you see that guy go down. It would affected me. And look, they're already without Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown and Cam Johnson. This is a team that sort of had to deal with their injuries. It's a lot, and it's a lot to ask. And we've broken down the value he has to his team and what happens when he's not on the floor, much less going to miss multiple games. Let's just do that fun game that we all know and love, because they were in the middle of a road trip, right? I think it was the second game, and they're out. There's a pretty long one for them. Yeah, there you go. They're on the East Coast for a minute. Well, what are we thinking? That's just the next 10. We just
look. Looking at this schedule, it's favorable for them, right? If you would say that if you had Jokic in the lineup, this would be a favorable schedule for them. But now you don't really know. On top of that, like you just mentioned, Braun is out of the lineup. Aaron Gordon is out of the lineup. Cam Johnson is out of the lineup. These are some major pieces, and now you have your MVP and you have your very best player out of the lineup. Man, it just puts you in a peculiar situation. So, Jamal Murray is going to have to be the guy that step up and be that. They're going to have to find some scoring somewhere. Defensively, I think this is a team that still has guys that can compete on the defensive end, but they're going to have to be able to score the basketball. This is not old school ball where you can hold teams to 80 and 90 points and try to win a basketball game. You got to go put 110, 115, 120 on the board to give yourself an opportunity. That's something they've been accustomed to doing. Like last night, they scored 127 points, and that wasn't enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they're going to have to find a new identity until he gets back on the floor, especially if it's going to be an extended amount of time. They're going to have to figure this thing out fast. And so, looking at that graphic of the schedule, Beads, it looks favorable on paper, but I don't know if they have enough talent to withstand it, especially with such a big gap. This isn't just somebody that's regular. We're talking about somebody that's averaging a triple double with 30 to go with it and shooting 60% from the field. Like I said, I don't have to go
Oh,
on and on about how valuable and important that he is to the Denver Nuggets and their schedule coming up. So it's going to be some challenges. We're going to see. It's going to be interesting.
you know what? Just to remain professional, it sucks. Like this sucks.
There
I
we
think
go.
that's how we all felt when this when this happened yesterday. And no disrespect to Miami, by the way, because they
Right.
did get the win last night. We should probably shine a little light on them as well, because don't look now, Miami Heat doing that thing they do where you're like, uh-oh, maybe they are gonna be a bit of a problem. 3 straight now, 6th in the Eastern
Yeah.
Conference, 18 and 15. Do they have, when you watch them play, is there enough there that you could see them as a possible 4 seed come end of season?
Possibly. Possibly. You looking at the standings right here, like the three teams that I think are solidified are going to be the top 3 right now. The Pistons, Knicks, Celtics, those are going to be the teams I think that are just going to interchange and they're going to stay in those spots. Where it gets interesting to me is Toronto. Are they the real deal? Is Orlando the real deal? What are the Sixers going to do? Are the Sixers going to get in this conversation as well? I also look at Cleveland at that 8th spot. Like I don't think that's a team that stays there either. It's a lot of different conversations coming out of Cleveland, but I don't think they stay there. So that's what makes it interesting for Miami at the spot that they're in. If they can continue to play this way, I think they go forward before they go backward. But it's a lot of teams right around them in the mix that have similar situations that are in the similar position that they're in. They're trying to get better and better. So the way that they played last night, with the exception of Jokic going out in that game when he did, they're playing really good basketball and they've been playing well enough to put themselves in that conversation. But I think they cap out at 4 if they do put themselves in that conversation based on how the
Okay.
Celtics have been playing. And obviously, you have the Detroit and you got the Knicks playing really
New
good
York,
basketball
yeah.
as well in the East. So I think they cap out at 4. I think by the end of the season, once it's all said and done, I think they can walk that down.
I kind of love that the Celtics are in the 3. Like nobody had that. None of it.
Yeah.
They moved people out. It was like, all right, we're mailing it in till Tatum's, and now they're sitting at 3 with Tatum going to come back. It's a good story. By the way, we talk so much about South Beach flu and all that good stuff. The Nuggets had not lost a game in Miami since 2018. Did that shock you a little bit?
You know what? Kind of, but not really. Once you look at their roster, like they might have the right
Mm.
group of guys. You know what I mean? Like
Are you
I
trying to
don't
say
know
they're
about
nerds, Lou? Are you saying that they're nerds?
I wouldn't call them nerds. Maybe going out just isn't their cup of tea. You know what I mean? Everybody has their vices. Everybody has something that
Fair.
they like to do. Miami probably just not those guys type of town, or they're just responsible enough to go out and handle business, and it don't matter. I know guys and I know groups just like that. Hey, we're responsible enough. We're gonna go out. We're gonna hang out, and we're gonna come in and kick your ass too and get up out of here. You
I
have
love that.
teams like that have those identities as well. But listen, Bam Adebayo is one of their best players on that team. Tyler Hero is one of the best players on that team. So when you start talking about matchups, you got Jamal Murray and then you got Jokic. They're probably going to win those matchups head to head a lot of the times based on how they've been able to play. Those guys are world champions. And when they come into South Beach, they carry themselves as such. And they've been able to do that since almost, over a quarter of a decade now. So, Miami is probably one of those type of towns that it just doesn't affect them and it doesn't bother them more so than anything. They're probably more motivated to play there than anything. So it
You are
works.
right. You can go out and not be a complete useless waste of space the next day.
Oh,
Like it
trust
is
me.
doable.
Trust me.
I know. Do you know that, Lou? Do you know that you can do
I do.
that?
Trust me. I listen. Sometimes because you know what, Beadle, I'm gonna tell you what happens. Sometimes you could party to the point where it scares you to play.
Oh, that's
That's
fun.
what I'm talking about.
Good
There's
Lord,
our
Penny.
third. There's our third host right there. Winnie, get
I'll
on
grab
camera.
that. Good Lord. It's gonna be one of those days. All right, just
No,
just
but
keep going.
sometimes you might party to the point where it scares you to play good because you're like, if I don't
Why?
play good, I'm because it's gonna be noticeable that I'm out here not my full self. So it puts you in a mindset of being super focused, super locked in, paying attention to every little detail before you go out on the court to make sure that you're able to do your job and you don't stand out and you don't look stupid.
Well, shout out Denver. Shout out Denver. You're
Shout out
like
to
the,
Denver.
the example that we will look to from here on out. I was putting it off for a while, but you know what? We do have to talk a little Cavs Spurs. Cleveland here last night, and yeah, they stopped their 2-game little skid there with a nice win, 113-101. Jared Allen with 27-10, Darius Garland with 15-11. Wemby had his 26 and 14, but I think we got to start with the obvious story is we had this feel-good moment, you know, beating OKC 3 times in the month of December, 2 like back-to-back Christmas, and then they've lost 2 since. 1 to Utah, which is a weird one, and then of course last night to Cleveland. So let's start there. How do you describe this? How do you beat Thunder the way you do, and then just sort of come out and do these last 2
NBA.
games?
It's the NBA. Just because you beat the defending champions, that doesn't make you the champion. That means you have a matchup that you like and that you enjoy, and it works. And as you can see, this thing changes night in and night out. Every team, all 30 teams, all of these guys are pros. Everybody's pros. Yeah. So it comes down to scheduling. It comes down to availability. It comes down to matchups. All of these small little details matter night in and night out in the NBA, you know. So sometimes when you just look at a roster and you say, well, that team is better than that team, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the better team on a random Monday night, you know. So that's what I chalk this up as. You know, the Thunder are still a really good basketball team. They're still the favorites to repeat, to me. And the Spurs have been doing a good job of really putting pressure on that narrative and try to put themselves in that conversation. But what we forget as fans and what we forget as media is there are also 28 other teams outside of those 2 that have those goals as well. And that doesn't mean they're going to stop competing. You know, look at Cleveland. Cleveland is a team that's trying to find their footing. They're trying to get in the space where they feel like they can compete in the Eastern Conference to match up with a Spurs or a Nuggets or a Thunder team at the end of the season. So they want to compete against those teams, and they want to use those teams as a measuring stick to see where they are in this season at this point. And so this is no surprise to me that they went out and handled business and beat the Spurs and even a Utah team. You have some young talent with Utah. You know, those are young guys that want to prove themselves, and they know the lights are bright when you're playing against a Wemby, and you want that win. You want to have that notch on your belt to say we did that. And so those have been the 2 teams to do it. So this thing goes on and round and round through the season. There's going to be a lot of upsets, and there's going to be a lot of games that you thought it was no way that this team was going to beat the opposing team. But this thing happens. This is what professional sports is all about, Bees.
I know. The Knicks came in last night after their win in New Orleans, and they play them tomorrow, New Year's Eve. We got to get that San Antonio flu thing going. I don't know how we do that. I don't think there's anything to do. That being said, I tried. I went out last night. I was like, well, this is it. Question, because you know we got to look for patterns and things. We got a beautiful mind. Yeah. This Wemby has started last night, and he started against Utah, and now you're like, oh. Those are the 2 games they lost, and when he came off the bench, they won. I'm not saying the words because I have a reputation. However, is that a weird coincidence? What is that?
Let's not be silly. So
don't say it.
Forget the 3 seasons of games that he started and had success, right? Like, forget all of those. But these 2 games, he should go back. Like, what are we talking about? You know, these things happen. Again, like I said, this is the National Basketball Association. Everybody are pros. Everybody is capable of beating anybody on any given night, no matter what your schedule is, no matter what your roster is, no matter what your record is. Anybody can beat anybody. So I listen, I'm not going to put a lot into Wemby coming off the bench and people saying, oh, they lost those 2 games. So what do we suggest? Do we suggest that he goes back to the bench? What are we talking about? He's had so much success as I can't even believe I'm defending this. It's just
so you know people are going to say it. They're going to say it.
Well, people are stupid sometimes.
Well,
people are just stupid sometimes. But no, I don't read too much into this. I think they just ran into a roadblock, and the better teams on these individual nights were better than them. Simple and plain to me. But this has nothing to do with him coming off the bench or being back a starter. No, I'm not weighing in on that.
Wemby, the world's greatest bench player. Yeah, no, it's going to happen. There's going to be some talk.
He got to come behind me.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. He's got some time. He's got a little bit of time. By the way, what would you do? Knowing who you are and the legacy that you've secured in this league, what would you do if all of a sudden they decided, you know what, we are going to just start bringing Wemby off the bench? Like, what does your brain do with that?
I'm protesting.
Okay.
I'm protesting. I'm going to protest the same way teams protested against me, saying, why is this guy coming off the bench averaging 25 points a game? Why is he
Oh,
coming off the bench? So if Wemby came off the bench and he's in the way of me, of interrupting my six man of the year runs, I'm protesting. This is
to
not
die.
fair. It's not right. He doesn't deserve to be on the bench. We're protesting. We're standing outside of the arena.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know what else I don't know what else I would do, but can you imagine if
Merch.
Wemby
Get
was
merch made.
actually in the six man of the year conversation?
I mean, I love to do parallel universe dreams, and I'm just like, there'd be a lot of people that would be very upset, I think, because that would not make sense. But I'm just saying, he got 2 games as far as science goes, and maybe that's where he's supposed to be. Don't at
Maybe
me.
so. Maybe so.
Yeah, I'll never say that. It makes me feel really stupid. That being said, we do need to look at the Cavs because we just threw that Eastern Conference standings up there, and they're in that second column right now after the year they had last season. I love that Donovan Mitchell had come out already and been like, we're not a playoff team. And then they get a nice big win on the road. How often or how important is it to have like a guy like that occasionally sort of check in with some words and just, check the team and remind them like, we're better than this?
I'm gonna tell you, Beast, it's really important, especially when you have a guy that knows how to deliver with context and tone and getting your message across and not losing your teammates and not losing the locker room at the same time in that message, right? Like if he came out and said, we suck and we're not a playoff team, that would probably be taken a different way, opposed to him explaining and laying out, this is why I feel this way, and being able to get that point across and to light a fire up under your basketball team. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell for coming out and saying that and believing in it. And then also at the end of the day, going out and getting a big win and saying, you know what, maybe we needed to light this fire. Maybe we needed something to reignite our fire and our desire to go out and be one of the best teams in the league. I don't know what's happened from last year to this year. Now, granted, that was a magical run last year. Like a team win 16 in a row. That's a lot. That's not something that's very common in the NBA. So when you do something like that and then you come back the next year and you don't play up to that necessary expectation that you've laid out to yourself, a lot of teams will consider that a failure. Now, I will say it's surprising that they're in the 8th seed right now. They're in the 8th spot. That is important. That is kind of surprising to me. But I feel like they've gone through a lot of challenges, and a lot of teams have been able to scout them now. Like they were a surprise last year. We can agree on that, right? Like the run that they had last year,
That was big.
we were surprised that they were doing it. Now teams can prepare for you. Now they know we're going into Cleveland playing a really good basketball team. So we got to be on our P's and Q's. We got to cross our T's and dot our I's. We got to be ready to play really good basketball. And they're getting challenged by everybody. Remember the messaging at the beginning of the year when it came to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They said, hey, we're going to be challenged and we're going to be tested and it's going to be good for us. Well, you got to be careful what you ask for, right? Like they're getting challenged. Then they're getting tested, and it's showing in their record. But I like the response that they had last night. That's a great start to a great story for these guys continuing forward. Let's see what they be able to put together before the All-Star break.
It's also kind of awesome too because he had a season low 10 points and they still pulled this one out. So it's just
right.
It was a nice little galvanizing moment, I think, as the leader.
Got to see
Hawks
Jared
Thunder.
Allen. Jared Allen had a great night. Jared Allen had a great night.
It's nice. Everyone else sort of picked up.
Yeah, and that's what's needed. Listen, it won't be Donovan Mitchell every night, and I think that's the sign of a great basketball team. When you have other guys that can fill in the gaps and that can win you basketball games when you don't necessarily have it and when you're not playing your best, that's the sign of a really good basketball team moving forward. So shout out to Cleveland for doing that. But I'm curious to see where they go. You know, we talked about Miami getting down to the 4. I want to see Cleveland try to get down to the 4 spot and try to get home court advantage as well.
At least we can't rip the Eastern Conference and then you're in 8th. Like it makes no sense to me. Thunder, we're doing Thunder things. Hawks are in a bad way at this moment. 7 straight loss for them last night, a 140-129 loss in Oklahoma City. SGA with his 39 points. Chet had 24. Okongwu had 26 and 14. But there's no Jalen Johnson and no Trae last night. They've lost those 7 straight. The ideas that the team's going to move on have gotten louder and louder. Like the voices are getting louder out there. So I'm wondering in Atlanta, where you are, like what kind of panic situation are we feeling with the Hawks?
Yeah, they got to find an identity at this point. You know, we gotta figure out what is the best next steps moving forward for the Atlanta Hawks. And yeah, the chatter is getting loud. It's getting loud, and the fan base in the city, they just want a clear direction of what's next. What are we gonna do with Trae Young? What are we gonna do with Jalen Johnson? What are we gonna do with the identity of this basketball team? And the reason being is because they've tasted success. You had a Eastern Conference Finals run, and then after that, you kind of tapered off, and you weren't able to get back to that place. But as a fan base, you've shown that we had the pieces. We were good enough to get there, and this is something that's tangible for us. As a fan base, and they want more of the same. And now that you have the results that you have, they're just unhappy. And Trae Young coming in and out of the lineup, and it being kind of a roller coaster of trying to find some middle ground with the team, and just being able to compete at a high level. It's been a lot, and the chatter is getting louder and louder. And me as a fan, like everybody else, I'm curious to see what's the next steps, because I want to see this team get on the right direction. In a perfect world, I would like for Trae Young to be a part of that. But you know how the NBA works. When you get into your eighth season and up, and you don't really get the results that you want, it may be time to look in a different direction. So, I would be happy for Trae to be happy wherever he is, whether that's in Atlanta or whether that's somewhere else, to get a fresh start and get a new opportunity for him to be the great player that he is, and start seeing the results of that. Sometimes things just don't work out, and I don't want to speak for him, and I don't want to speak for the Atlanta Hawks. I know it's a sensitive subject, especially coming from me when we start talking about Atlanta Hawks basketball. But ultimately, I just want to see him happy, and I want to see the Atlanta Hawks be successful at the same time. So if those two things can happen collectively, that would be ideal. But at this point, it's looking like Trae is going to have to find somewhere else to be happy, and Atlanta is probably going to have to move on and create a new identity. But that's not for me to decide. But based on what's going on and me knowing how this business works, that's probably looking like that's going to be the next step.
I mean, look, Mark Stein's name's on it. It's not even one of those like anonymous. I will say this though too, as a fan, it's still pretty vague. It's not, hey, they're definitely going to move him. It's well, they're more open now than they've ever been to moving him. So you're still kind of like, okay, but part of that, and these are some of the other words that are being thrown around, is the idea that Anthony Davis is someone that they're looking at, and that you would pair him up with Jalen Johnson if this is what it's going to look like moving forward. Does that sound good to you?
If he's healthy, like we're having a conversation about AD, and he's hurt right now as we speak, and that's become kind of the topic of conversation surrounding Anthony Davis. Like, we know how good he is, we know how great of a player he is when he's available, when he's on the floor. That's just not consistent enough for me to be excited about it as an Atlanta Hawks fan. Obviously the name rings a bell, and that makes you happy. And you see the emergence of Jalen Johnson and how well he's been able to play. And people in the Atlanta area feel like he's an up-and-coming star. He's going to be somebody that you can build with and build around as well. But if Anthony Davis is that person, I would just note that he's just not healthy enough for us to be really, really excited for that to be the move. But we could use some star power in the city. And if he's available, like I said, he's a top 5, top 10 big to me in the league when he's healthy. But that is a huge caveat for Anthony Davis. Like I said, we're talking about someone who's in street clothes as we speak. So, are they real suitors? Does that swing the needle to somewhere where the Hawks feel like this gives us a better opportunity to win basketball games? If he's not on the floor, I don't think so.
And the counter to that too is that the reports are that Dallas would not be interested in getting Trae Young back. So you got to work out some math in that way. This one I thought was interesting because he's the number 1 pick. Risache, like, that's a young dude. It's averaging 9 in the month of December. But I also feel like he's been there for 5 minutes. So does that feel like a little premature to even entertain the idea of moving him?
Got to sacrifice something, especially if you're going to go out there and try to hit home runs and try to go get superstar level players. You got to sacrifice something, and you got to be willing to play ball. You got to give something to get something in this league. And I really like the young fella. I think he got a really great potential. He got great potential ahead of him. But if you're trying to go out and get an AD, or you want to have a conversation about the Ja Morants and the LaMelo Balls and these caliber of players in our league, there's going to be some names come up that you're going to have to be able to give. Remember, I was in a trade that brought Paul George to Los Angeles. As a response to that, you lose a guy like a SGA in that conversation. So you see the potential in guys, but sometimes you're in a win now situation where, like, I want to start seeing the fruits of my success and fruits of my labor right now. And that puts you in a position to put these guys on the board. And Ricochet is no different.
Man, got to learn quick in this league. All right, we're going to take a
Absolutely.
quick break. By the way, we had some fun comebacks last night in the Eastern Conference. We're going to look at those two when we come back.
Run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back.
The Knicks in New Orleans, little comeback win here. We get to see Zion starting again, and we'll get to that. 32 points and 5 for him. But Jalen Brunson with his 28 and 10, nice leading of the team back, getting a nice win on the road. 11 of their last 13 have been victorious, and they're only a game back of Detroit right now. I don't know, does it feel to you? I'm sure the Pistons feel them, but does it feel to you like we're looking at a situation where the Knicks are going to be the number 1 seed out of the East?
I don't know. I still like the fact that Detroit is doing its thing, but New York is heating up. I think they're starting to catch a rhythm. I think guys are starting to settle into their roles, what's expected of them, what's needed of them to go out there and be a good basketball team. But they're right there in that mix. You know, Detroit it's sitting at 24-8 and New York sitting at 23-9. Based on scheduling, this thing can flip-flop in a matter of days, right now. But I want to shine a light on Jalen Brunson, like the way that he's been able to play and carried his basketball team to the run that they're in right now. I forget what the stat is, but you know, I know those guys have won 11 out of their last 13. Like they're on a 11 out of 13. They're on a run right now. And so if I'm Detroit, I don't really look at New York this early in the conversation as a legitimate team to take over the number 1 because there's a lot of basketball left to be played. I would say for all top 3 teams, you know, not just New York, Boston, and Detroit. For all 3 of those teams, I would say just stay the course of the season because these things are going to flip flop. Like I just said, overnight, if New York wins a game and Detroit loses a game, they can flip flop you, and then now you're starting to worry about that. As a team, you got to put your blinders on. You got to put your blinders on and just go out and play the best basketball that you can play and do the things that's needed to be done. Because if you start looking behind you, you can never look forward. And New York has done that. New York has been the team that's been able to look forward and just try to continuously put pressure on trying to get that number 1 spot. And on the flip side of it, like I said, if I'm Detroit, I'm not even looking back. I'm just trying to put wins together as well. But New York is in the run, and I think they got a great opportunity to finish first. But so early on in the season, we haven't even got to the All-Star break yet. We got about 6 weeks until even All-Star. I wouldn't even be worried about that. I would just continue to put good pieces together, continue to put great building blocks together, build that chemistry, continue to build out with Coach Mike Brown and what he expects from his basketball team and what he sees fit to be a championship caliber team. If I'm New York, that's what I'm focused on instead of getting the number 1 spot.
If I'm the Pistons too, like I've been waiting, right? Like the whole offseason, I'm just thinking, man, we were this close to beating the Knicks in the playoffs. Like I think as fans, we all would look very much forward to 7 more games between those 2 teams. And you ready for bench talk versus starter talk? Because we can do it with Zion too, and we're about to, because he started last night, and we know that he was coming off the bench as well, because he's coming off of an injury. He had 32 last night, by the way, first game back as a starter, and there were flashes of like, oh, that's right, that's what he can do. Yeah. I feel like Zion is like the ultimate tease, right? Because we all want him to be great. We all want to see him at his best. And sometimes you have to be reminded of who he is. When you see him play like that, how do you feel? Because sometimes I feel like, man, we're getting ripped off by the injury lords. But how do you feel?
I just want him to be healthy. And my message to Zion would be, don't even confuse yourself with narratives and worried about things. Just try to play the best basketball that you can play. Just go out there and be the best Zion that you can be. And he's been able to do that. He threw in 32 last night. You gotta love that. So I don't care if he's doing it off the bench, as a starter, whatever. As long as he's on the floor and he's healthy, that's what I care about. Is he a top 15 player, top 20? Like, who cares? Those are like those. It's not even a legitimate title. Like to be a what does it mean to be a top 15 player? Like
I
you don't
don't
get
know.
you get nothing. You get nothing out of it. So if I'm Zion, I'm not even allowing that in my psyche. It looks great for him to be back in the starting lineup. It looks great for him to be back on the floor, back healthy, putting up these big gaudy numbers that we've had an expectation of him for so long. But you still look at New Orleans. This is not putting him in a playoff position as of yet. This is not putting him in a championship contention as of yet. So if I'm Zion, man, he's another person. Put your blinders on and just continue to be the best Zion that you can be. Do as much as you can to put the New Orleans Pelicans in a winning situation as long as you're a New Orleans Pelican. And that should be the focus throughout the course of this season. Staying healthy and being effective and being the best player that you can be. I don't care at what level that is. Just be healthy and stay on the floor. That's all I care
I'm
about.
paid like a top 15 player. That's really what I'm
That's
worried
already
about. I know
there.
kids don't want to hear that,
money's
but that's
spent.
yeah, that's the part that matters the most. Okay, this is the thing that I'm like. There are quite a few teams. I don't want to say a lot, but there are a few teams that are sort of in this predicament, right? Like they have Zion Williamson. We've been through the highs and lows. Do you stick with him? Like, I don't, if you're management in New Orleans, I don't know what the plan is. I have no idea how the fans feel about it. I don't know if some people are just over it and want to see what's next. But if you're the team, how torn are you between keeping him and staying with that or changing it up completely?
Yeah, it's going to be some hard decisions. It's going to be some hard decisions, man, coming up. But the thing that they have working for them is nobody has an expectation level for New Orleans this year, right? So there's not even pressure on them to make a move by All-Star. There's not a pressure on them to make a move by the trade deadline or any of those things. Let the season play out and evaluate everybody from top to bottom, not just Zion. Evaluate all of these pieces. Let's see who's worth keeping. Who can we build around? Who's valuable enough that we feel like you're a piece if we start bringing in some other guys and we find, our coaching of the future and we just find something that works for us from top to bottom. So they got a 4 or 5 month runway where they can legitimately sit back and just see what's going on and what works best for them. And so Zion playing this well, it can be a gift and a curse. He can be playing well enough to the point where New Orleans can say, see, he can play and he's healthy. Let's make a deal. Or they can say, you know what? This young guy has finally gotten healthy. He's finally gotten over some of the knick-knack things that's kept him in and out of these lineups. And we're starting to see him be the player that we drafted, that we thought that he could be. And maybe let's spin the block one more time and let's see if we can get something out of it. But they have the time to make those decisions. So, the good part about being bad is that now you have the time to evaluate everybody from top to bottom.
Oh, it's a weird place to live. You know what though? If you're a fan of sports, every team's got to go through it, some more than others. It is what it is.
Right.
I know we flashed again the Eastern Conference standings, and I know you were like, I'm not 100% sure about Toronto. But I'd like to go ahead and give you Exhibit A, if I may, what they did last night. This is the second one of these comebacks that they've had to go through. Double digits. They were down 21 to the Magic last night. And then after 7 of their players get in the double figures area, they pull out a victory. Jamal Shea with 19. Brandon Ingram with 17. Paolo Banchero did finish with 23, 15, and 10. But like I said, second straight time that they've come back from these big, big deficits. I've always wondered as players, is it more concerning that you keep getting down big like this, or is it such a nice big positive that you're like, yeah, but we can get out of it as well? Like, how do you look at that?
Yeah, you hate to get down like this, and you hate to be the team to have an identity of a comeback team. Trust me, it's exciting for fans, but it's frustrating as players, and it's frustrating as a group when he's like, why can't we just beat this team? If we come back from 20 down, that tells us that we were a better basketball team than they were all along. So why even play this game of coming back? So, for me, it's impressive to come back, but you don't want that to be the identity of your basketball team. But they found some highlights and they found some positives in it. They had 7 guys in double figures, and Toronto is a tough place to play basketball. and win basketball games in general. So to have those guys play well as they did later on in this basketball game, to come back and rally and get a big win, that's encouraging for them. But Beadle, trust me, you don't want this to be your identity. You don't want it to be your identity, because some of these teams, they get you down 10, 15 points, and they know that you have the reputation of being a comeback team. They're just going to stump you out while they got you down, and you're not going to have an opportunity to get back into a basketball game. And so this has worked for them a couple of times, but you don't want this to be your calling card at all if you're the Toronto Raptors.
It's exhausting emotionally, physically. Like it's a lot.
Everything.
Once in a while,
you have to work twice as hard.
Yeah. It's a lot, but it is very dramatic the way they did it. I don't think they had Pirtle. It was a very big comeback win. We do need to look at Paolo Banchero. I do feel like he's been a topic of conversation quite a few times already this season, but second triple-double of the season. However, a lot of people are going to focus on the fact that there was a 3 there, an opportunity that would have won the game that was missed by him. Lowest scoring season of his career. There are some negatives that are sort of surrounding Paolo Banchero's season so far. I don't want to say the word disappointment, like is his career. That's a little dramatic, right? But are you a little surprised by where he is currently, given where he was drafted?
No, it's growing pains. This is the NBA. These are growing pains. Like, it's okay for guys to have ups and downs, peaks and valleys. That's the point of the offseason. How many times have you heard the greatest players in the world talk about how they've attacked the offseason because of disappointments and not doing the things that they set out to do and reach the goals they reach? At the end of the day, listen, Paolo is still averaging almost 20 points a game. Field goal percentage is at 24%. You don't love 43%. I'm sorry, is 3-point percentage is at 24%. You don't love that, but he's a young player, and you want your young players to have the room to be able to grow and continue to put pressure on your career as being one of the greatest players in the world. So I like it. I like it. I spoke about him and Coach Mose earlier in the season. I said, look, I feel like Coach Mose should put him in a position to get easier baskets. He shouldn't be putting the ball on the floor playing in as much traffic as he does. And that comes from 50% of that is coaching, and 50% of that is Paolo and identifying the way that he's being guarded and taking advantage of the opportunities that he's afforded. Don't fight so much. Sometimes you have young guys, they just try to go through all of the hardest obstacles to do the things that they need to do. And Paolo, at his size and the way that he's able to put the ball on the floor and the way that he's able to be physical and attack the basket, he's made the game harder on himself. But he's a young guy. He's a young player. So for somebody to say it's a disappointment or any of these things, I want to challenge your basketball knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, these guys, they are supposed to go through some turbulence. Like, that's the point of this thing. This thing was never supposed to be easy for everybody. If it was easy for everybody, everybody would do it. So I like the fact that he's being challenged. I like the fact that he's having some adversity so young in his career. Now, we're having this conversation in 5 years. Yeah, we can start having a different conversation. But right now, he's being scouted differently. He's being guarded differently. And teams are having success in making the game difficult for him. His job now is to watch film, make adjustments, and then in the offseason also make adjustments to your game where the game can be easier for him. And I think he's still going to be an all-star caliber player at the end of his career. He's going to be just fine.
Also, when you lose your 1A, 1B, your Franz Wagner, like that sort of changes the entire dynamic as well. By the way, I always love it where we're so disappointed. I promise you, these guys are madder at themselves when things don't go their way than we could possibly ever. Like, newsflash fans, no one cares if you're disappointed. We're going to take... Everybody
thinks like they're madder than the guy. Like, no.
No. There might be one dude out there that's like, don't really care. That's one guy. We got to take a quick break. We have some more Run It Back on the other side.
Run it back, run it up, run it back.
Got some say what's, Lou. I like this. There's some hots, there's some mediums. So we'll start with little Luka here. Said he grew up idolizing MJ. Okay. And the way he played, competitiveness, all that. And he's tried to bring that same mentality to his game. Now, is he comparing himself? I don't know. But what do you make of that? Luka and MJ.
MJ has always been a measuring stick for everybody. Yeah. So what's the big deal? I like this. If you poll the 430 NBA players, probably 400 of these guys are probably going to say the same exact thing, unless they're younger now. They're probably looking at other guys as that measuring stick, and MJ might be an older guy to them now in this generation. But a lot of us guys grew up idolizing MJ and bringing that mentality to the game, like seeing MJ on film and watching his games. That's where we first saw toughness. That's where we first saw fire and all of those things. And now that we know that the NBA and its marketing program, like that's all we saw for a very long time. So it's not a problem for any of our superstars, especially Luka, to say that he's trying to bring that same mentality to the game and his approach. So I got no problems with this.
I feel like you got to stop complaining to the ref so much, though, if they're going to do this. If we're going to do this.
Yeah, that's different, but he goes out and he competes, and he gives every team that he played on an opportunity to win basketball games. You know, that's the things that I look at. Now, could he stop complaining and crying to the referees and doing that and take that out of his game? Sure. But when we're talking about putting that ball in the basket and hooping, yes, he has that mentality. So I ain't mad at him for that.
I like it. Still got a little Luka in here, kind of. Tom Haberstroh said that the Lakers should trade Austin Reeves if they're serious about becoming contenders and building around Luka. Do you agree?
I don't know the context of what Mr. Haberstroh was trying to say, but
the defense
question,
side, because there's some deficits right now as is.
Well, listen, I got news for you, Beadle. On every basketball team, you're gonna have some deficits. And you're going to have some guys that can't do something. What I do know is Austin Reeves can play basketball, and he's going to be a guy that's going to help you win basketball games. Like everybody says this, like to win a title, it's still basketball. Like guy, the playoffs doesn't change. Like it changes. It changes as far as what teams take away from you and these things. And when a team takes away some of your strengths, you need talent. You need other guys to be able to put the ball in the basket just as much as you need them to be able to defend. And Austin Reeves is that guy. God forbid if somebody goes down, he's shown you that he can be the guy that step in between the lines and hold it down for you on the offensive end. And so if Austin Reeves is the guy that's holding you back on the defensive end, then we got to have a conversation about Luka holding you back on the defensive end as well. Everybody has flaws in their games, and everybody has pros and cons in their games. It's no different for anybody. So if we're saying this is a defensive argument and Austin Reeves is the guy that's going to stop Luka from winning the championship, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, Tom. So I don't know. But I'm also just looking at a quote, and I don't know the context and everything else that he said as well.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm pinning all of the defensive woes on Austin Reeves on that team. That's not fair.
They can share some responsibility in who's to blame.
There's a three-headed monster over there that doesn't like to defend at the moment. Channing Frye. Okay, I think this one's interesting. So Channing Frye said that Steph Curry gives you a better chance to win a championship than Giannis does. Are you buying that?
We got data to prove that.
I mean, but now? Are we still going with this?
Right now? Oh, that's right now.
That's how I'm reading it.
I don't know. I look at them in the same boat. They're both superstars. Steph is 38. I don't know. Giannis is how old?
31, I think. He's young.
You know what? This is interesting. If we're having a conversation about right now, then this is an interesting thing to look at. But if we're just talking about style of play, the totality, and who those guys have been throughout the course of their careers, obviously we have data to show that Steph Curry gives you a better opportunity to win championships. But if we're talking about right now with a 38-year-old Steph Curry versus a 31-year-old Giannis, I would have to say Giannis right now. But I don't know. Again, another one that I don't have the context of what's trying to be.
We don't need context, Lou. That's what clickbait is for.
Yes, I need context if I'm putting my face on it.
No, you're being way too responsible. I don't care for it. I prefer. Okay, you know what? You can't get out of this.
Well, you be unresponsible and you tell me who gives you a better opportunity right now.
Well, hear me out. You put them together. Boom. Done.
No,
now you're good.
No.
Okay, fine.
That wasn't the conversation we were having.
I'm just trying to make everybody happy. There's no context needed on this next one, so you can't even try it because it's a Dwayne Wade quote, and it doesn't matter what the context is because it goes like this. He called the Charlotte Hornets his favorite professional AAU team. Okay, no context needed. I'm sorry. What do you think?
Well, I will share context with you.
Okay, fine.
Listen, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, this is like a saying, because we're so good at basketball. Sometimes when things kind of go off the rails, there's a saying like, we look like an AAU team. Like, we look like we don't know what's going on. Like, we have a bunch of talent and everybody's really good, but we're just out there hooping and there's no structure. There's nothing that you can base this off of being professional basketball players. That's the context of what's going on. So we say this a lot. So when D-Wade is saying they're his favorite professional AAU team, he means they have a lot of talent and he likes the style of play, but this is not what the NBA is. This is not a winning way to play basketball in the NBA. But if you want to see a bunch of young guys just hoop, go out and have fun, that's what the Charlotte Hornets represent to D-Wade. So that's what he means. That's what he means by that. But it's hilarious that he said it out publicly and he said it out loud, because this is usually something that we say that's kind of like a backhanded compliment, if you will.
I was like, is this a backhanded compliment? Okay.
Like a backhanded compliment, but this is usually something that we say off camera and not out loud. So that makes it funny to me.
Yeah, no, I thought it was funny too, because yes, while we're acknowledging your talent, we're also acknowledging you're a hot mess. So it's just a tough way to sort of be looked at. Lou, we're almost there. Can you see the finish line? Because I do. We have one more break.
We're all right. You know, we're podcasts. We can do this thing.
We're cruising in New Year's on the other side.
Run it up, run it back.
I can't believe we made it all the way to now, Lou, to acknowledge the fact that today is LeBron James' 41st birthday. We made it all the way through the whole show. Also, Tiger Woods. There's some good birthdays today. That being said, he gets to play the Pistons tonight. That's his gift. His season so far, give it a grade. And I know he's missed a lot of it, but what would you give it?
It's gonna be like a C plus, B minus in that area. There's a lot of room for adjustments for LeBron. I really look forward to what he's gonna do after the All-Star break. Like knowing him, knowing older players, they really cruise until after the All-Star break. That's when you start seeing the guys really getting ready for the season and they start revving up their engines. And I think LeBron James at 41 years old today, happy birthday, my dog. I think that's what you're going to see from him coming after this 6 weeks. I think that's when you're going to see it. Like, look, he's not the LeBron of old. He can't do this thing for 82 games at the level that we're used to him doing it, where he's the best player in the league. He's going to have to pace it throughout the course of the season. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Do we think, I don't know, I have this vision that Pistons are a legit team, even though their last 2 losses are weird. I think he has a monster night, LeBron does tonight. Like maybe he gets 41, like something silly.
I think so. Listen, when you've accomplished so many things, you want to, there's a game inside the game. He's 41 today. He's going to have a great opportunity to prove that he can play basketball at a high level on his day. If I'm a betting man, I wouldn't be mad at that. Wouldn't be mad at LeBron having a big night tonight.
Put $1 on it. That is it for us for the year of 2025. When you see us next, it'll be Monday in studio.
Yeah.